Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt. Today's video is going to look a little bit differently, but I've spent all morning behind the... All right, we're on track with the new GR Corolla. We've got the tires warmed up. We've got brakes warmed up. We're ready to go. We're actually chasing. We are in the core trim. So this is the base trim, but this does have the performance pack, so you will get the mechanical limited slip differentials on both the front and the rear axle. If you upgrade to the middle trim, or I guess it's hard to say middle trim because the top trim, the Morizo, that is a limited run 200 unit vehicle, and that's the thing that's in front of us here. But we do have the limited slip differentials here. We've got loads of grip. We've got Michelin PS4S tires on all four corners, all-wheel drive standard, manual transmission standard. This is a fun little car. I do need to get around these people though. But let's talk about this while we wait for the Morizo to get out of the way. Let's talk about what's going on under the hood. This is the same 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine that you get in the GR Yaris. It's that rally homologated car, and that's kind of the personality and the feeling that you get behind the wheel of this GR Corolla with its all-wheel drive. Again, that's something that you do get in the Golf R, but you don't get in the Civic Type R. You're not going to get it in like the light versions of these cars like Elantra N or Kona N or anything like that. So having all-wheel drive here, especially for me who lives in Wisconsin, and we got snow before I came here to Texas, it's nice to have all-wheel drive. So we talked about the engine, makes about 300 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. And then it goes through the 6-speed automatic, or IMT, intelligent manual transmission. Did I say automatic? I meant IMT, the intelligent manual, which means you can get auto rev matching, you can heel and tow. The car defaults to having the IMT system off. So when you turn the car on, if you don't want to heel tow and you want it to shift for you, you're going to have to turn the IMT on. It's a little button on the left of the steering wheel here. I've got it on today just because we're going to try to save some clutches, and I don't really feel like learning a car, talking about a car, and heeling and towing all at the same time while also trying to learn the track layout. But hopefully they're going in now. So that was their in lap, that's why they were slow. Okay, now we're gonna really open it up. All right, 300 horsepower, 275 pound-feet, all at your disposal. Coming into turn one, brakes, shifting. Got this kind of chicane here. This is what I really like, this balance here. I don't have a sense of understeer really at all, which is really impressive. You have a nice sense of chassis neutrality. The all-wheel drive is sending power places that it should be. And you can also adjust the split. This is a really, really sophisticated all-wheel drive system. So they recommend 50-50 torque split, 50% to the front, 50% to the rear for track driving to maximize your grip and what you're going to get back from the chassis. You can set it to 30% to the front and 70% to the rear. And for daily driving, inclement weather and stuff like that, you can set it to a 60% front and a 40% rear bias. Now it's an interesting all-wheel drive system. It's really sophisticated, it's really robust. This is the first time we've seen a GR4 all-wheel drive system, and what it essentially does is there's not a center differential, so it kind of wants to be front-wheel drive. So it'll send the power to the back when it thinks it needs to, but for maintaining, or I should say minimizing, parasitic loss and power loss through the drivetrain, it's actually going to prioritize sending power just to the front, and again, sending power to the rear when you want it. So it's not like it's a locked system, like you're going to always be getting 70% to the rear if you have it in that format. So it is going to save from that parasitic loss. And the other thing too is to keep in mind with a system like that, you really have to be cognizant of how much you're doing on track, because you can overheat the clutch. So if you're going to go lap after lap after lap, it is important to keep in mind your differential temperature, transmission temperatures, and that sort of thing. But the thing that I want to talk about here is, man, the grip is good, the balance is great. Like I said, I'm not getting really any understeer. When I point the car, when I turn the wheel, it goes. The grip is fantastic. I will say I'm really excited to try that Morizo version of this thing. And That thing is 100 pounds less. It's also got more boost pressure. I think this is about 25 PSI of boost. So that Morizo edition, that ups it to 30, puts it on Cup 2s, and it shaves about 100 pounds of weight. Now, another thing that I'll talk about as we enter the cool lap here is they did a lot of damper retuning between the core and the Morizo, and they've also done some stuff to the brakes. These are Brembos. They went for, you know, kind of a lighter, weight-reduced brake package to keep that unsprung weight in the car a little bit lower, to keep that sense of light athleticism. So I'm really excited to get into the Morizo. So let's cut to that footage now. All right, we're starting our hot lap in the Morizo. I'll tell you what, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Brakes, down into fourth. IMT, turn one's a bit of a chicane. I can tell you immediately that these Cup 2s, they make a big difference. It feels like the transmission also has a little bit different shift action. I also apologize for the camera angles. I know they're terrible. I have to borrow a racing helmet because it's hard to travel with a racing helmet when it's not really 100% of what I do. So the GoPro is like crudely strapped to the passenger side seat. So I do apologize for the poor camera angles throughout the video. Get into the brakes. So let's talk a little bit about what's changed from what we were just in, the core, to the Morizo here. Now this being the Morizo, it's the limited edition. 200 models will be made either in this gorgeous pearl white or that kind of matte gray. But what we have here is the same 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder, same horsepower, 300, but 22 more pound-feet of torque than we had on that core. That's because we got boost pressure up at 30 pounds or 30 PSI. So we've got a bit more torque, we've got a bit more punch. These engines do like to be revved out. You will be rewarded, not at lower RPM like you would in like a Type R, but they want to be revved out. This is a great balanced car. Ooh. And I can tell you immediately, the big difference that you feel is in the balance of the car. They take 100 pounds out of this car from the core that we were in. And you can really feel it. It all comes from the back end too. So it's coming out of the rear seat delete. It's coming out of the windshield wiper on the rear windshield that's been deleted. And this car just wants to rotate. The willingness to dive in, you have so much more front end here. And it's just followed up. I'm still in the 50-50 like track orientation for the GR4 system, but this thing just wants to rotate more than that core did. It does feel like it has a bit more neutral chassis. Oh, this is a lot of fun. I can see why. I can see why this car is more money. Oh, the Cup 2s. There's just loads of grip. The chassis is brilliant. The dampers have been retuned. It's firm, but it's not at all punishing. Well, I'm driving it on the track, so I guess I wouldn't totally know, but oh man, this is a joy. This is a great chassis, great suspension, great shift action. Now we'll go into our bit of a cool down and just kind of recap some of the thoughts that we have here. So on track, there is no question. These things are absolute riots, super fun. We're gonna talk about the core first. So this being the base, if you could call it base, trim here. This is the entry-level trim. This is the most affordable one. And it still looks fantastic. It gets a totally unique front fascia as opposed to, you know, like a Corolla XSE. So obviously you have a big grille up here. You can see the radiator. And you can get your little GR4 badge up here. You still get LED fog lights or ditch lights, which is pretty impressive. You get complete LED runners, and it just has a nice mean face. Now, one thing I will say, on your core trim, you won't get the hood scoops or heat extractors that you get on the Morizo, and we'll talk about the Morizo in a second. We come around to the side here and we have an 18-inch wheel. It's a multi-spoke design. You've got GR brakes. I believe they're Brembos, and they're specific to bringing the unsprung weight of the car down. So they're specifically a lighter brake package. Either these are the Brembos or the Morizos are. But then you can see this is also riding on a Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tire, whereas you get a Cup 2 on the Morizo. You do have this gill here. Then of course you've got your GR badge up here. Let's just take a minute to appreciate this red paint. This looks pretty good. It's got nice sparkle, nice sheen. I do wish I had the polarizer on the camera here so you could see a little bit more. Black wing mirror, black window treatments, no sunroof on here. Don't believe sunroof is an option for anything here. And then you've got more aggressive flared side skirts with your GR4 embossed into the skirt itself. Take a minute to appreciate also these wider fender flares up front, but more specifically on the rear. The way that this comes in, it almost looks like it's kind of tacked on. It does give me kind of Supra vibes, and to me personally, I like it. I think it looks cool. Again, really appreciate this paint, looks really cool. And then from the back angle, well, let's take a look at the profile for a second first. I mean, it's a hatch. This is a true hot hatch, and I think it looks pretty spectacular. The brakes on the back look kind of wimpy, but they still have plenty of stopping power, so that's not a problem for me. The back end, the upper portion, looks like a Corolla, like an XSE. You get LED taillights, you get your hood or trunk opening there, but the bottom portion is huge. It is chunky, and that's where you get this really aggressive kind of like chinked flare here. It's really, really cool. Kind of like a matte black diffuser in the back, and then your triple exhaust. Left, middle, and right, not all centered like you'd get in the Type R. I kind of like this exhaust. It has a load of drama to it. Let's take a look on the trunk. Go to wide mode. This is a pretty decent sized trunk. I mean, it's a hatchback. This is the thing that I think, so they bring the battery into the trunk for weight distribution, which means you get a lot of this like styrofoam stuff. You can remove it. You would still have a battery in there. But that would get you a deeper floor, a little bit more practicality. Your seats do fold 60-40, so you can fold it, drop it down, have a little bit more practicality that way. Of course, not a power tailgate, which you wouldn't expect because that'll add weight. You do have a rear windshield wiper here, which you won't get on the Morizo for, again, weight savings. Take a look inside. Kind of typical, kind of soft touch-ish. Cloth here, scratchy black. You do have a cup holder. You have a shocking amount of cup holders on this car. You have one here, you have one on the other side, and then of course you've got two more here in the center. But you do have cloth interior here. If you go up to the circuit, you will get, I believe, a leatherette. And then on the Morizo, well, we'll take a look at the Morizo in a second. Let's step back here. I'm 6'1", and look, I still have an inch or two of knee room. And I even kinda have headroom. So it's really not bad. You don't get mat pockets back here. You do get a 12 volt as well as a USB-C. No AC vents. Of course, you have a drivetrain tunnel. But other than that, I mean, it's fine. You've got the cup holders, you've got chargers. It's really not bad. Let's check out the front. All right, then again, the front seat, checking the door card, very similar materials here. A little bit scratchy here, cloth here, speaker. Let me take a look at the seats. These are the cloth. They hold you really well. I didn't talk about this much on track, but they hold you in place really well. You will get specific seats, different seats in the Morizo, so we'll look at that. GR is stitched, and it looks almost like a patch that's been stitched in there, but you get contrast gray stitching down your black seat. And then you get this leather or Softex wrapped steering wheel. You do have a heated steering wheel on here, which is fantastic. This is that button I was talking about for your intelligent manual or your rev matching system. So that's great to see. We'll step in. All right. Let's fire it up just cause. We're in neutral. It's got a nice sound to it. Pretty good. Fully digital gauge cluster, that's standard. You also get a head unit, which isn't huge, but it is running the new system. Very, very good. You still get a physical volume knob. You don't get a head-up display here, which may or may not be a miss. I don't really know. Personally, I didn't really feel like I needed it on track. The digital gauge cluster can adjust so you have that kind of graduating bar for your rev, and then it'll flash, of course, when you need to shift. And then looking at your steering wheel, you still have some safety sense driver assist suite stuff here, which is great. Media controls on the left. GR on your steering wheel. And again, you got a nice kind of gray contrast stitching in here. GR start button, as you'd expect. Physical handbrake, excellent, you love to see it. 2 cup holders of decent size. This is not your drive mode selector. This is how you select how you want your torque split. So you can see right down here, we've got it in default 60/40 mode. If I push it in, it'll go to track mode, which is that 50/50 split. And then if I dial it over to the right, that's where it sends the 30% of the power to the front, 70% of the power to the rear. And again, we talked about that a little bit more on track. When you do want to adjust your drive mode, you've got this tab here, and you've got 4 modes. So you've got custom, sport, normal, and this makes me chuckle a little bit, eco. I guess it's not that funny because it is just a 3-cylinder, so it could be kind of economical. But you've got traction control here. You've got 2 level heated and cooled seats, and way down here, hidden, is your wireless charger, which is kind of nice. You also got USB-C down here, decent sized glove box. This is kind of like a soft touch material, kind of rubberized, contrasted aluminum here. Physical climate controls, you love to see it. And again, this is Toyota's new infotainment system, so wireless CarPlay, I believe, over-the-air updates, dual Bluetooth connection, and that sort of thing. So this is a pretty nice interior. Let's check out the Morizo. And this is the unobtainium, the Morizo, one of 200 units that will be produced. This is the more expensive one. Hey Greg, how much is the Morizo? So the core is $35,900, and the Morizo is, of course, that limited production, one of 200 units. And the price is, we'll cut to Greg, $49,900, and that's presuming that you can get it at that price. But this is awesome. This is a great color. It comes in one of 2 colors. This pearl looks fantastic. We'll get it on the back end where it's in the sun. You can also get a matte gray, which also looks fantastic. But there are some different things going on from the core to the Morizo. You can see initially that the hood and the whole front fascia just seems more aggressive. It's the same kind of lower valence, but you can see GR4 imprinted on the radiator itself. Same LEDs, GR, LED running lights, same kind of deal. And then, like I said, this is where you have that heat extractor on your hood scoops right there. But look at this pearl paint. This looks fantastic. It seems as if there's a little bit more flare on the front end. I don't think that's actually the case, but it looks that way. And then, like I said here, we've got these Cup 2, Michelin Cup 2s. These are some of the stickiest tires that aren't a race tire that you can get. These have a huge impact on how the car feels on track, along with these BBS forged wheels. Again, lower unsprung weight, lighter Brembo brake package. Got our grille here. Again, black wing mirror, window treatments, GR4 side skirt, embossed fender flare. Nice profile. And then, one of my favorite things is the forged carbon roof. Now again, this Morizo is 100 pounds lighter than that core. A lot of that weight will come out of the hood, or the roof, and a lot of that weight is coming from the rear seat delete. No rear seat, carbon roof, and also you'll see no rear window wiper, which means the window wiper itself isn't really saving that much weight, but the motor itself is going to save weight. You'll also notice that you can't control your windows on here. You still have cup holders back here because they're not going to change the door, but on your front, obviously you can't put down your rear windows, so you can just control the fronts. So you can open the rear doors. You can't sit back there. You can't open or close the windows. But yeah, trunk. Don't really know what that is. But same kind of thing. Again, we've got the battery back here with the extra styrofoam. So I guess in theory, if you can get past this chassis stiffening, again, this is a lot more stiff chassis. They've got additional bracing here, there, and they've done additional welding to make the chassis a bit stiffer. And that's why I think with the lower weight back here, with the rear seat gone and some of these other weight savings and the additional stability and bracing, that's where I think we get that balance difference in making this car feel like it rotates a lot more willingly than that car. But then stepping into the front, again, immediately we have nicer materials. This is an Alcantara. We've got red stitching rather than a gray, and the seats are totally unique. Again, red stitching, Alcantara with the perforation. You can see the red underneath there. Red seat belts, GR. Again, kind of stitched into the seat itself, really nice. Really, really nice race bucket. These are comfy. And then we've got, well, let's just hop in. Again, totally digital gauge cluster. We've got Alcantara wrapped steering wheel, still says GR4, red stitched though, and with a noon marker. I'm trying to find some other differences here. Initially, we've got Alcantara shift knob with kind of like a metal finish in the GR, red rim, red stitch shift boot, Alcantara shift boot, Alcantara here with red stitching. I mean, the list goes on, right? I could just say a lot of these things again and again. These sunglasses don't come with the car, unless you know some woman named Carol, then you know it might. But yeah, this is a really nice interior. The Alcantara on the wheel and specifically on the shifter, I noticed this feeling a lot more premium and a lot more satisfying to shift when I was on track. But overall, great cars. But that's it, that's the GR Corolla Core with Performance Pack and the Morizo Edition. Again, I'm super stoked that I got a chance to drive both of these cars at this event today. I'm sorry for the camera angles on track, and I do apologize that this wasn't our typical format, but I wanted to be able to drive these cars back to back and be able to report on them. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a comment. If you like the format, leave a comment, and we'll see you in the Type R, which is over there. Oh man, this was a joy. Thank you to Toyota for having these cars out here so I could drive.